Oh, I intro things.
You do, yes.
Welcome back to Orphans of the American Dream. I'm your GM, and I completely forgot that I was your GM. And I promised we would find out what happens when um, four people try to explain their life story to an amnesiac, or basically an amnesiac's life story to him in the apocalypse. So I really do want to get like in character, like how does this come about? Tell us how you explain this to Adam, and then tell me when you go into like flashback mode.
I mean, I think we talked about like Gabby asked, right? Like, so what's like the situation with you guys? Like, how do you know him? And
Oh
so,
yeah.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, we're probably just like we all would like look at each other. I'm like, well, that's a long story, and then we hear like maybe another rumble of thunder. It's like, but I guess we have the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know who wants to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think in character, David probably wouldn't contribute very much to this conversation. But I mean, obviously, out of character, I'll pitch in when I remember stuff.
I'm going to be honest. Of the players, I think I have the least memory of how any of this went down because I was kind of in and out for a couple sessions as guest star more than I was actually a consistent contributor. So I don't know the story.
It feels
born in a log cabin.
I feel like the best way to do this though, Connor, is maybe not to like have us just like start at the beginning and like do everything, but like you know, in one way or another, but like have it be each character gets a scene and maybe each of us we'll just say let's start with a scene with Josh as the main focus, and then we say okay, well what's one of the main pieces that Josh was a part of, and then we see a scene from that. That's probably the most coherent way to do it. But
I agree. It might be better to start off with either you or Jared though, because you guys are there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Or David even, because you three were the ones that converged at in Janesville all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, no, David wasn't even there for the beginning. It was just me and Jared. Remember?
Do you want us to go into before we met up at all, like backstories, or no?
No, I don't think so. Okay. Unless you guys think that you should.
Mine was. So.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm planning on getting to flashbacks of that.
Yeah.
So like we're doing flashbacks right now before the apocalypse, and then we'll do some like after the apocalypse, but before canon.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can just go ahead and start then, and then so maybe I just start explaining like the beginning, right? So I'm like, well, you know, the apocalypse had started, and we all went our separate ways. One thing or another made us split. Made us separate, and well, I found my way up north. I survived, and that's all I say of that part. But then I say, and then about a year ago, a couple of us crossed paths again. It was, you know, mostly coincidence, but we went back to Janesville, the town we grew up in. Well, most of us, I guess. David lived in Beloit but anyway, that doesn't matter. There was a gang called the Reapers, and then we just get in media res cut to like probably us. Honestly, like there's I don't remember half of the stuff that happened. Yeah, Adam was there. But we probably just. And we're going to be embellishing all of this anyway, so I guess we just see an in media res cut to, we see the Janesville courthouse. Right? And we see it tricked out as like a fortress, right? And I think maybe we just start with Jared, I, and Adam, and there are probably some other people, but those are the important ones for the scene, in a bus, in like a school bus with Maddie. The school bus is with it, this gal who has shoulder length blonde hair, And we are just all screaming at the top of our lungs, like, ah, as the school bus, which has like spikes and like whatever, like tricked out on the front of it, just runs headlong into like some barricade, and like a bunch of like people with guns just like jump out of the way to try to like not get hit by it.
They're like at first shooting, and then they're like, oh crap.
Exactly.
Like,
and we're all just holding each other like, ah. Yeah, and then it's just like, ugh.
Really forgot about that.
Right, and then like we all just kind of like shake ourselves, awake, or like out of a daze, and then I like grab my hunting rifle. And I'm like, all right, now or never. And then I just like jump out of the door, and then just like take a shot at one of the guys, and just chaos starts. So I don't know if you should probably help me out here a little bit with the scene.
Yeah. So I think there was obviously like a leader of the Reapers, and then there was Ben, who was like second in command or something like that. And so I think you guys hear from like gunshots from upstairs, and I think like a grenade goes off.
Right. Yep.
And
I think I jumped out of a window.
Yep. So I think you guys like rush upstairs and like all train your guns on like the leader of the Reapers.
Yeah.
And you have like a showdown. Do you like say anything? Like, do we have some like Caleb like speech moments?
Oh
here?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I literally none of us remember exactly how any of this went down, so we're just gonna get like an embellishment.
So that's kind of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like we're saying this is what happened.
Is the actual canon. Whatever happens in these plots. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So I just say, do I know his name? Can I know his name just for convenience?
Yeah, you can. Let me think of a really super cool name.
Crusher.
No, that's not a name. Well,
I know.
A corpse collector.
Oh, but again, it's not a name. That's like a title.
Oh,
okay. You were actually confused. I thought that was just the running joke now.
Yeah, I started the running joke and didn't realize it was running, and then got run over by it.
But Ace, obviously Ace.
Okay,
100%. That's what his name is.
So I just say, all right, Ace, like, we're all training our guns on each other, and I'm like, this is it. There is nowhere else to run. We've shot your goons. We busted your door. This is our city. And I look like at the people, or, next to me, that's Jared with his awesome, didn't you have like 2 dual katanas at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to describe yourself, Jared, in this version of you?
The Jared 1.0, I had like spiky, like gothic combat armor just over the top, and 2 katanas, and I was Edgelord Supreme.
Yep. And so it's Adam and Jared and Maddie and probably a couple others there. And
I can't remember, was this pre or post me breaking my arm? Like, remember when I tried to jump out of the car and shoot it?
Yeah, that
before that.
Oh, you're right.
I tried to shoot the bottom of the car and blow up, but the door didn't open, so I broke my arm. I can't remember.
Did that happen in Janesville, or did that happen in Bloomington?
That sounds familiar to me, which suggests it was Bloomington.
It was probably Bloomington.
Okay, yeah.
Let's say that your arm is intact right now. So so we say this, and it's like
we get that moment where Jared is like, wasn't his arm broken? And like in the flashback, we see Adam's arm just like break, and he was like, no, that happened in Bloomington, and he's like, oh, it's fine.
Exactly, yeah, perfect, yes. Perfect. That we should definitely put any discussion we have of this should be in character for sure. So I say, no. Anyway, what I was saying was, and then we go back and this is our city. We were born and raised here, and we're taking it back. And honestly, this is like probably my like dramatic rendition of what actually I said, but So I'm like, what do you have to say to that, Ace?
He pulls his gun on you and just tries shooting at you. And I'm assuming you guys shoot back.
Cut the bullet in half.
I don't know if that happened here either.
No, that was Bloomington.
Yeah, no, okay, so that's...
We get that moment again, yeah.
No, we get that moment, and then, no, so this is what happens, I think. Jared, you say, like, and then I cut the bullet in half, and then David maybe says, like, no, that was, no, you didn't. And then you're like, yeah, that was in Bloomington. And I look at you, I'm like, no, that was never. You never did that.
No. Hannah was there. Whatever happened to Hannah?
Like Hannah appears for a split second, like in the window. Hi guys, and then she like disappears.
I don't even remember.
It was Pablo. It was all Pablo. I'm telling you guys, it happened.
Oh yeah, Pablo was here, and then we see Pablo in the like ranks of the goons. Wasn't Pablo a Reaper?
Yeah, I think he was one of the people who was in command. So I think he's in the room with you guys there.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. Let's just say that's what he
So this is what we get though. This is what we get though with that scene. Like it's like, oh yeah, Pablo was there, and then we cut back and we just see me like everything else is frozen, and I just like take a pistol and just shoot him in the head, and then he just drops, and I'm like, yeah, we hated Pablo.
And then he like stands back up and he's like, you didn't kill me here. I didn't steal the kids yet.
Anyway. So then it was at that moment that Ben, just randomly out of nowhere, I didn't even realize it was Ben, but he like betrayed the Reapers and like joined our side.
And then we see Ben like outside of the window on like a bush, and he's like, oh.
Wait, really? What?
Wait.
Yeah, he dropped a grenade and jumped out the window.
Oh.
Yeah.
About that just Ben, like, I remember. And then like everybody looks at him, he's like, oh no, I remember the last time I had this drink. It was a few weeks ago. And he's like everyone looks at him, he's like, oh no, I was talking about something else. You thought like I remember.
Right.
I remember.
Okay.
He's not even like looking at you guys. Oh, sorry. I remember the last time I had this drink. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I was at this and like I'm like, no, hold on.
So I think how we get that scene though is like we have this dramatic moment, right, where then you and Ace are like staring down or whatever, and then Adam's character says in the flashback, he says, I remember, and then we cut outside of it around the campfire,
right,
and everybody looks at Adam like, and Adam's like, oh no, it's the drink. and then Caleb, you probably sigh, and then we like get back into the flashback.
Yeah, and so at that point we just like start like he dropped the grenade and then he jumped out the window, and then like Ace was dead, right? Like he killed Ace at that point, or did he just injure him?
He just injured him.
Okay, let's have this be how the scene played out then. Like, we see Ben drop the grenade and jump out the window, and then like we are all kind of like ducking for cover, and obviously Ace like comes out of the wreckage like smoking and stuff, and then he probably has some sort of dramatic villain dialogue that I give him, obviously, but you can say it.
Well, that's what you guys were hearing from downstairs was the grenade. Remember? So that all happened before you got up there. And Ben was just outside the window. So you like put the pieces together afterwards of what happened. But no, so you guys are there, and then you guys are facing down with Ace.
Got it.
And then Ace pulls his gun on you after you give him that speech.
Yeah. So you see that whole thing, it rewinds time, and Jared's like, no, that's not how it... I'm like, I'm sorry, it's been a while.
Yep.
I've told the story a bunch of different ways, actually. In every draft, though...
How many ladies are there?
In every draft, though, you did not cut a bullet in half. So just pointing that out there. So, yeah, I say. And then there was just a lot of bullets flying, like shots everywhere. And I don't even remember exactly who got the killing blow. It was probably Jared, I assume. And I look at you.
On Ace?
Yeah.
Did the grenade scene happen in Bloomington?
There were a couple of grenade scenes that happened in the...
There was at least one grenade scene where I was involved, so this must have been...
Was the dud in Bloomington?
The dud was in Bloomington.
Okay.
Yes.
I assume I just sliced the crap out of him. I just ran into the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Sliced them all up.
So we just see like just the grunt, and then like close up on his face as like he's been stabbed by Jared's sword, and then we just see him slide off it.
And we see the battle, but then like as you get this close up of like him being stabbed, in the corner you see Pablo like anime style like doot, 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 like outside the door, and then he like falls off the blade, and
yeah.
Caleb, do you have a role here for like something of like creating an advantage of?
Yeah, no, I think because of the way that I've described all of this, right? I'm probably just like trying to like maybe even remind myself of like, honestly. So this is the thing, right? Like this entire what happened in the past, I was actually way more messed up in season 1 of Orphans, right? I've actually healed significantly since then, but I'm not obviously anywhere. And this is honestly me, I think, just like revisionist history in myself to just forget or tastefully like pass over the fact that I was like racked constantly with like horrible PTSD from my life in the apocalypse. And so I'm describing myself as this dramatic hero, right? When I definitely wasn't that. I'm more like that now, but I wasn't then. And so this is me like honestly just trying to give myself an ego boost, right? Because I'm still racked about a bunch of stuff, and this is me just kind of like trying to build myself up a bit.
Okay. Well, so that's not necessarily a good thing.
No, I know exactly.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead and roll. I was expecting you to say like you've come to peace with the fact that you were this, but no, you're telling the story and embellishing it. So
and that's the thing. And I obviously I could have gone the other way, but I realized at the end of that whole scene that I was like describing it that way. So I was like, well, I guess that's what I was doing.
Yeah. So you still haven't come to peace with your past.
No, and I mean, I think the way that I've been acting this season so far has revealed that. Like, I pretend more than I have actually healed. So
yeah. Okay. So go ahead and make a roll here for credit advantage with whatever you want to do. Maybe it's will.
Let's look. Let's look what I'm good at.
There it is. Let's look at what I should argue for.
So I'd like to make the argument that I could use rapport here because I'm basically just trying to convince myself of all of this.
No, that's too good of an argument. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
You sure it's not deception? You're lying to yourself, right?
Real quick, I may. No, don't say that to you.
I'm just saying.
And I think part of the reason that I'm saying this too is that I have the stunt large ham. You may use your rapport in place of provoke to intimidate someone, and obviously that doesn't come into play here. But my character is such that I use rapport to act, right?
That's a good argument.
Okay,
yeah.
So I make myself angry first, so that I can so that convincing myself is an attempt to calm myself down, which means I get a +2 bonus.
No.
Okay, I'm just trying to be David for a second.
I think the difficulty for this.
Can I get a Jared? What do you have in rapport?
No, I don't think you guys can help each other in these because these will be so specific. Like this conversation is happening in your head, Gil. Yeah. Like these are things you're coming up with in your head and being like, oh, this is what I was like, you know. So I think this one is a 3.
And wait for this just to end up where we all have
boom.
These
5.
Oh, dang.
That's
that was
right.
A nice roll. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't that great of a roll. It's just a +1. Okay, yeah.
Superb roll.
What'd you say, Adam?
It was a superb roll.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it says superb.
So since this is a positive thing, I think I'm going to frame it like this. I think I know, right? This isn't me lying to myself, right? This is me knowing how I was in the past and deciding not to dwell on it, right? I'm telling because that's the thing, right? If I had told this story and actually been like, yeah, I was dealing with a bunch of PTSD because my girlfriend had died and it was this whole big thing, right? Like, I don't need to go back to that point in my life, right? And so I'm telling this story to get across the important details to see if we can jog Adam's memory, right? But the telling of the story, the way I'm telling the story isn't so much lying to myself as it is, giving myself a brighter past so that maybe I can look towards a brighter future.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think you should phrase it more neutrally so that it can be invoked either way because I can see it leaning either way. You just have a free invoke on it because of the way that you're looking at it right now is that, but I think there's more to it to explore than that. I think there still is a part of you that isn't at peace with it yet. And so there needs to be a little bit more of a, some character development, if you could say, around that area. If you're fine with that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how to phrase it. Because my idea was brighter past, brighter future. But
well, it could still be that brighter past, brighter future. You're still trying to you're wishing you had a brighter past.
Yeah.
So that you could have a brighter future.
The past isn't bright, so that could always be a thing.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Brighter past, brighter future.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what we get here of what happens next is probably why don't we just play it out and see what happens?
It's probably the thing with Pablo, right?
Well, it is the thing with Pablo is what happens next, but I was trying to figure out like whose scene is this next, but I'll let you guys just play it out. My guess would be it's Josh, because that's when Josh entered the scene.
Was it though?
No, not right after Janesville, but when you guys were in Bloomington chasing Pablo.
But didn't we chase Pablo a bunch of different places?
You chased Pablo to Bloomington. You might have chased him in a few places along the way.
So here's the thing. I remember very distinctively killing Pablo in the forest, in like a wilderness place.
Oh. No, you guys are definitely in the streets of Bloomington.
That is definitely not, because I remember going to the radio tower. Right? It was the whole thing.
Right, no, but the radio tower afterwards.
No, but it was the whole thing where like Pablo had the kids and we chased after him, and then we right? It was all in that.
Didn't we get locked in like some kind of room in the radio tower? Wasn't that a thing?
Yeah, it was like a whole thing. Like, and I remember because this is the thing. I remember very specifically. Remember, we got attacked by a radioactive bear, and then Pablo was with us when that happened, and I had a whole conversation with him about like Jesus. Like, I literally like preached the gospel to him.
Yeah. All right. I remember this all.
I think that was also
we're having this conversation.
That was also when he told me explicitly I couldn't trust him, and I forgot that I had an aspect and didn't shoot him, and then he betrayed us and stole the cure, and I was like, well.
You guys had a showdown with him, but you didn't kill him there.
We did. No, I mean, we didn't.
Is that what happened?
Oh, you might be right about that. Yeah.
Pretty sure he escaped because I wasn't in the session.
No. I know expressly when he dies and where he dies.
Yeah.
It's after Hannah, or like weren't they like there's something to do with a cure or whatever? Hannah had a cure.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. He stole the cure.
He was about to murder Hannah. I cut the bullet in half, and then I slaughtered Pablo.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, what part? We obviously just told a whole bunch of that story.
Well, I mean, David, do you want that to be your scene then, where you guys had the showdown with Pablo and you didn't kill him?
Yeah.
Is that significant? And as David's thinking back on it?
Yeah, I think so. Especially because he ran off with the cure, which was the whole point. David was out there in the first place.
Yeah.
And if you would have stopped him there, you might have been fast enough.
Well, I mean, the cure wasn't finished yet, I don't think. Because I mean, I was around for a while after that.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think they had to like finish it, but that was like the beginning of it. Because I know that they had to like do tests on it and stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I think was kind of hand waved as in the epilogue, basically. Like they did the tests and you go home.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I mean, like true to form, I don't think David's very he doesn't elaborate on it a lot. I think he's just like, yeah, I remember Pablo. Like he told me expressly I couldn't trust him, and I didn't kill him, which was a mistake. And then he ran off with the cure, and we had to chase him for forever. I didn't even end up getting to kill him for it, but whenever I got the cure at the end, not that it did any good.
Ooh.
And that's like all he says, which is obviously lacking any detail. But he just stops talking.
So I think we get this scene right where it's
probably, but.
Well, I think the point of that scene there, like cinematically, is that David doesn't give us a flashback sequence.
Yep. Right. Exactly,
right.
Yeah.
He just
gonna think about it at all. Yeah.
He just says, "This is what happened," and we just kind of sit there like,
"Wait, what?"
That was really sad and dark.
That's not how this episode goes.
Yeah. Well, David, do you want to make a roll there for credit advantage?
Sure. Yeah. What's the roll there?
Well, it depends because you're not giving it a lot of details.
I mean, I'm kind of feeling provoke a little bit. It's kind of a broody feel to it. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I can't really think of anything else that makes any sense, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What's the difficulty?
I guess what are you trying to gain from this? You just rolling to see and then just see how it turns out, or like what is David thinking about this?
Like this entire thing is just David reliving the task that he had where he had to go get the cure, which ultimately just ended up not doing anything and just making him spiral, basically. So I almost feel like this is digging up a lot of bitterness more than anything, which is I think why Provoke landed or came up. So I almost feel this is like, I don't know if it would benefit him any, but I feel like he's closing himself off from this situation because it's not something he wants to dwell on.
So is this more like you're provoking the people in this room? more than anything.
Think so, kind of. Like he's giving off that more than he's directing it.
Because that's the thing, right? I think like usually we were going back and forth and like describing everything, and when you say that, all of us are just like staring at you, right? Because we know what happened with all of that, and we just don't say anything, right?
Yeah, I think, and I guess if your goal here is to push the people around you away, is probably a 2 in this situation, because it'd be really hard for people to like talk. Like give you a conversation after you say that. So I think probably a 2. Oh, you got a 1. Do you want to like spend a fate point on this?
I mean, I would just be getting the advantage anyways, and I'd rather it was negative. I think it fits anyways. So
yeah, okay, that's good.
What's it called?
Oh yeah. Yeah, let's see. Maybe like not worth remembering or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably.
Yeah, it's good. Okay. Okay, so where do you guys take it from there? I'm thinking for Josh's scene, I thought it might be interesting to be there for the time where you guys went to Bloomington and then were in the sewers and found the computer with Matthew's like stuff on it.
So that's the question. Maybe in what order did that stuff happen?
That was the very last thing that happened.
Yeah, I think that was like super last.
So we should probably do Jared's stuff next.
Actually, no. That wasn't the last thing, because the very last thing is where you thought I died.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that was like, I actually don't even know.
I mean that's very that happened Jared's before moment. You killed Pablo.
I don't think.
What?
I don't think so.
No,
so
you think
we definitely killed Pablo after that.
I show up in a tank at some point.
Yeah. And that's when
killed. Yeah, and it was in it about that moment or that scenario. I remember us making a big ring around him all. To kill him. I think Mary was there too, right?
Yep. Yeah, and she had her like explosive arrow.
Mary was an archer, and we were all prepped to kill Pablo. And I think that was like in the building right near where I had been found in the tank.
Yeah.
And then at some point after that, so you say radio tower, my brain immediately thinks, we went to this radio tower, and that's where we found Mark's den and Mark's study and stuff.
I
Two
wasn't
different
there
places,
for that
I think.
session.
Those were different places, Yeah, radio tower. So maybe we just get like a quick fast forward of a lot of these events, and it's like we the whole like betrayal of Pablo, and then we finally get the kids back, and then we bring them to the radio tower. Oh right, yeah. Well, and then we bring them to the radio tower.
Yeah,
where Trevor and Nate are.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah, and I think we have a little moment there of like, oh, and Trevor and Nate were there, and Trevor's like, hi, I like drones, and Nate's like, hi, I make I do a radio show in the apocalypse.
Yeah, and then I'm just like, and I have no idea what actually ended up happening to them. I don't think we ever went back there.
And then I think
the nuke.
Except we did because we had to have. We won because otherwise they would have died in the nuclear explosion. So we definitely went back because they had the kids too. So then we took them all to Nebraska. That's what happened.
No, I think Maddie specifically wanted to leave them with Trevor and Nate because she didn't feel responsible enough to take care of them.
Oh, okay. Then my comment stands. I was like, and I have no idea what actually happened to them.
And the radio tower, I think, was pretty far away from Bloomington.
I think it was far enough, yeah.
But it might not have been. So you don't know. And that's part of the apocalypse. Like, you don't know. Like, you can't just give him a phone call.
I mean, he could give us a phone call because he has a radio tower. But
well, he could send it a radio broadcast.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, that stuff isn't necessarily as important. We just get like a fast forward through all of it, and then we get to Bloomington.
I mean, quite literally, we could have the effect of like fast forward.
Exactly.
Like, none of the other stuff was important. And, here we go.
We get little couple frame snippets of something just utterly absurd.
Yeah.
and we breezed right on past it as if nothing happened.
Yeah. Okay, so then you guys get into Bloomington, and I think the big thing was you guys are going after Pablo, but Ben was there with the Reapers. And the Reapers, or no, I think that happened later. I think you guys killed Pablo first, and then Ben came with the Reaper army, and that's what started like the end game. So there are lots of little things that happen. So let's get Pablo's scene, right? With Jared then, right? Or we want to wait until you get captured with Connor for your scene.
Wait, what? Are we each doing one scene, or are there going to be multiple scenes?
I figured we'd each do one scene just for
I like the one where we think Jared dies probably is Jared's scene.
Yeah, that's the most impactful one.
So might as well just do Josh then.
So I guess Josh, you can decide. Like, do you want to do like the killing of Pablo as your scene, or like raiding Matthew's like lair as your scene, or
I'm gonna be honest.
Or
y'all made a big deal about how much you hated Pablo. I was just along for the ride.
Yeah.
Like, it was a blip. You were a bunch of people murking this one dude. Like, okay, cool. I'm going to trust that he did something bad, so I don't want his, so that his blood doesn't.
And this is definitely
my hands,
definitely happening in character too. We're like we're starting to just go into huge detail about like, man, we just hate Paula. He did this to us and they did that to us. And then you showed up, Josh, and then you're just like, yeah, I mean, I showed up and I honestly had no idea what was going on with Pablo.
Pablo existed. He was a person. We all hated him. He was apparently a bad person. Now he's dead.
Yep.
I seem to recall him being run over multiple times by a car.
Yeah, that may have been a little bit of overkill.
And then obviously, Jared, you saying, I cut a bullet in half.
I did. I saved Hannah's life.
You did not. Jared, that is impossible.
Remember, there's something about a bullet.
Shoot me right now.
Something about it being cut in half.
I go into the bus and bring out my old katana and show them the bullet. Like
okay, you like literally brave the tornado storm to like grab your katana and you're like, David, shoot me.
I'll be right back.
This is Dalinar in the high storm.
I was literally
getting
just about to say that. Yeah, it's a knife, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. I was about to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, and then you show us that
you see the tiniest nick in it. I'm like, see, it was right there.
I'm like, that does not prove anything.
Like, David, shoot me.
Like, no, like, we've already been through that.
Okay, so then I feel like Josh probably interrupts then and is like, but then we found something very interesting, and like points at Matthew.
Mm-hmm. So this group of loonies, after collecting me, running over this dude with the car, then I don't know. I don't have a great memory of how it happened, but we found this guy. And we found
crazy.
A computer that he had. And let me tell you, I have not seen more dinosaur of a machine in my years of working on technology and computers. The thing, no I/O ports at all. I tried my hardest to dump its contents, but nope, no I/O ports. Spent like hours digging over this thing. What about this? What about that? Trying all these different things. It didn't even, I couldn't do anything with it, but it had like lots of prophecy on it.
Is there any character in the room right now that would like pay attention, like know what Josh is talking about in terms of like tech stuff?
Helen.
Right. At least Helen. Her father probably. I mean, it's hard. I won't say it's impossible.
I think
I've never worked university IT, so I don't really know how good theoretical professors are with professors of like more theoretical sciences are with computers. Mm-hmm. People, if you work in technology, I assume you have a basic understanding of how a computer works.
So I think Helen chimes into this like, no II ports? What?
Well, I mean, there was like I don't know. it was bizarre. Like it had been modified or never manufactured with any or something. It was a very custom machine, very bespoke.
Yeah, I remember.
They didn't want you to take things off of that computer.
Yeah, it was high security maybe.
Yeah, I remember Josh made a really big deal about that. I remember us having an argument about it for like a long time. Honestly, it felt to me like sometimes Josh was just like screaming at the sky almost.
They say the best weapon against technology is archaic stuff. Can't plug anything into it. Unless by technology you mean high-tech assault rifles, in which case, maybe not.
So then does anybody bring up the fact that somebody did get into the computer and it was Jared?
So I'm not sure we actually say any of that part.
I certainly don't.
Yeah.
The second Josh brings up the computer, I just get very like I'm not messing around with my sword. The second he brings up the computer, I just like deflate.
Honestly, I feel
it's really interesting.
I feel like I mean David wasn't there, but I feel like you and I both get like we look at each other, Jared, and we're just like, oh.
Big sad, much sad.
Yeah.
So Josh, I feel like there might be something there with like the fact that either you felt like you didn't get into the computer, or perhaps the fact that Jared tried to put in a password and failed, and then nuked the city. Is there something there that like is like particularly like invoking with Josh? Or I was thinking there could be something in terms of just like you had this moment where you saw this like big epic showdown with Pablo, and all these people came together and they were really like emphatic about like this person deserves justice and all this stuff, and you didn't really care about like the social aspect of what was going on over here. But then you see a computer and it's like, oh wow, like, and you spend hours arguing about it and doing all this stuff. And maybe there's part of Josh that realizes that technology was like so much more important to Josh than like everything with the rest of the group and like everything with Pablo and that kind of a thing. I feel like there's a couple of different ways you can go there.
Yeah, I think that maybe depending on how the role goes, but Josh is definitely not sure. Like there's clearly the grand quest to stop the nukes, but how attached is Josh really to these other people on the trip?
Yeah.
Like we're comrades in arms, sure. And like, do I really want to be comrades in arms with Mr. Guns are the solution to everything?
Who's that? Yeah. So, Josh, make an argument here for what do you think you'd be rolling here? Is this just like a straight up will roll of like just introspection, or is this like a crafts roll?
I feel like that'd be empathy if it was like introspection.
Oh, actually, that might be a good.
Well, if you want a bad number, empathy could be a roll here.
But it could be the lack of empathy and like the investigate role is what is going on.
I kind of like empathy better.
Okay.
I think it gives us an opportunity to make some tension.
Yeah.
Where there should have been, but honestly, with my own poor recollection of how everything went in the past. Yeah.
You're not alone, don't worry.
And because these are like creating aspects, like Josh, you still do have a fate point. So if you like fail in this role and you want to make it positive, like you want to like point your character in a specific direction, I don't think that's necessarily a waste of a fate point, especially because we're coming up to the end here.
Sure.
So just to throw that out there, keep that in mind. But yeah, so go ahead and roll empathy then, and I think it's a difficulty 2.
Hey, well, that definitely puts me in range. So I rolled a 0. It definitely puts me in range of spending a fate point.
I like how Josh is the only person remembering to like actually specify what number it is.
Hey, I've been remembering.
Oh, you've been remembering?
Yeah.
That's good. I just notice it every time Josh rolls. He specifically is like, I rolled a 0. I rolled a 2.
He's good about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Very helpful. So it's
a
up
lot
to
of internet content, so I have a general feel for what helps make good internet content. I don't always use that general feel, but
So are you thinking you want to do it more of a negative light, or are you thinking you want to push it into a positive light? Where is Josh at on his journey as he's thinking this through? Because I mean, the fate point, you can kind of choose to use it or choose not to use it. Where do you think Josh is on his journey here? There's still a little bit of unresolved tension between you and Caleb from the last session.
I think rather than it being holdover from the last session, I suspect that it's more of a running theme.
Yeah.
That it's just a common thread between the two of us that we don't see eye to eye on things.
Yeah.
And I think maybe there's more tension here in the group. There's more tension with between Josh and the rest of the group than I think
is obvious
on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Josh kind of keeps himself quiet. And a lot of the moments that are the most, I think maybe we can get a quick montage or just a quick series of cuts of anytime people are talking about, pure justice or, ultimate righteousness or redemption or something, you can kind of see Josh twitch. I don't like the way this is a very one-sided perspective. I don't really care for the self-righteousness that tends to come up when all these conversations happen. Y'all have a real strong sense of your own rightness in these things, and I think so then that friction, you can kind of see how that friction has been there. I'm going to retcon that in.
Yeah, no,
the friction's kind of been there.
I feel like
through the journey.
Yeah. Well, I feel like what might be interesting too is with Josh's character, he kind of realizes that he doesn't have as much of a sense of rightness, and I think maybe he feels like a little bit of emptiness from that. In that
I wouldn't say emptiness. I think he has a different perspective on whether or not he needs that.
Oh, okay, yeah, very interesting.
I think Josh doesn't necessarily think he needs that ultimate rightness to chase. I think he can look to optimize and min-max in terms, not min-max is the wrong term. I think he can look to optimize without necessarily having an ultimate.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not chasing a standard so much as how can I do better for some computation of better in a given moment.
Mm-hmm. You're thinking tomorrow, how can I be better than I was yesterday? In this moment, how can I do the most good I can? Yeah.
Rather than chasing an external standard or something bigger. And so I think the main thread of frustration is the way in which that sense of ultimate justice tends to bleed over into ought for other people. Including the pointing the gun and trying to sorry.
Oh, no, this is good.
David actually shooting at the dude who was threatening him, right? Because in David's perspective, that threat is tantamount to actually doing the action. Versus David and Jared hashed it out.
Mm-hmm.
I think Josh tends to fall a little not on David's side for that one.
Yeah. I honestly, I think all of us are with you on that.
But yeah, I guess so. There's
the other extreme where Caleb feels like he has the right to make the decision to tell Helen and Clarence, you guys shouldn't build the rocket.
Right.
And Josh is like, well,
right.
How come you get to be the one that has to say? And so you're the one who
because they're doing something that's good. They're building something. They've got a community brought together, and maybe it doesn't look the way Caleb thinks it ought to. I was real excited and what can I bring to this in a little while we're here? How can I make this a brighter place? And instead, we've plucked the light bulbs from the socket and taken them with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor.
So now I'm not sure what to call this aspect. It's not necessarily a positive one.
I mean,
maybe I could invoke something to make it positive.
It could be maybe I don't belong here. Or do you want to play on words of like some of your other aspects, like I build a future for others, but there's none for me, or ghost of yesteryear and yesterday?
Mm-hmm. Need to make sure that I kind of want to go with disparate visions of the future, or maybe just disparate visions. And I'm going to spend a fate point on, are we building the future on the bones of the present?
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to call that aspect disparate visions.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And desperate visions, what do you mean by that statement?
Not desperate, disparate.
Oh, disparate.
So as so essentially different in kind, not allowing for comparison. Okay. Things so unlike that there's no basis for comparison.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Basically,
yeah.
I'm coming
distance,
to this.
Separation.
Yeah, there's distance and separation. I'm coming to this from a radically different space than some of the rest of y'all are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then I think we move forward from that, right? And we get to the giant scene starting with Jared dropping a dud grenade.
Well, so real quick, I think probably I like at the end of that Josh scene, I probably just ask him like, what were we even doing in that tunnel? Honestly, I don't know if any of us remember, but if you want to make it up, like
tunnel, right? That we were in a tunnel when we found the computer.
It was like the sewers, right? Yeah.
I feel like we were chasing him, or something about him, right?
Pablo, or
I'm pointing to Matthew.
Matthew,
you guys had killed Pablo,
right? We killed Pablo, but I feel like
what did we know? Had we heard something about Matthew at that point?
I don't remember that. I remember you guys like hiding out in the sewers. It was like a place for you to go and like, or like to get from point A to point B during like the big battle.
I guess Bloomington was like covered in gang people. Like it was.
Oh yeah, there was gang violence, wasn't there?
And then you guys. That's when Jared scavenged the like dud grenade. I think it was in the same session, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so maybe
did we find a journal or something?
Yes, you definitely found something in the sewer that led you to like the room.
Right.
And I think you guys still have the journal with you because that's what Matthew has.
It had something to do with like a cult or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was definitely like cultish stuff with all the prophecies and whatnot that he was. I'm curious. Did we find that journal? I feel like we found that journal somewhere else but the sewers.
No,
right?
maybe you did.
I
just want to say you guys did. That means I had way more forethought than I remember having. So
we can retcon it right now. Actually,
yeah. Heck, make me look better. That's fine. I mean, you could have found it like just in Bloomington, like after you killed some of the soldiers or something like that.
Because I was just curious, like how did how we as a group went from we just killed Pablo and now we're like going to take down this other gang to we're going to search the sewers for this weird mysterious figure, right? Like I was just like, I don't know how that happened.
I remember this being
happenstance.
Yeah,
maybe Pablo had it.
It killed him and took it. I don't know, like maybe he had it or something.
Yeah, let's say that. That's fun.
Sure. Yeah, Pablo had it on him. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very direct point A to point B, like switch for us. Then be like, oh, if Pablo thought this was important.
Yeah.
It must be stopped.
Okay. Yeah. And then from there, like Ben's army came with the Reapers to kill the like Danny and Landon and that whole group was who was in charge of Bloomington, right? So Jared, do you have a recollection of like this whole fight scene and what all went down? Because I remember
David and I were like sneaking in for an ambush, I believe.
Yeah.
And like we were in the rafters, and I dropped a grenade on a guard, and it just plopped on his head, and then they shot at us, and I just like fell from the ceiling and was in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And then I remember there being a helicopter with the best pilot in the entire universe.
Yes.
I think he did a backflip into a barrel roll in a helicopter.
He was really good, like unnaturally good.
Like at least like +9.
It's +7, but yeah.
Who's counting?
I was.
No, I do remember that. He had like a ridiculous roll. I think it was.
Yeah, I got like a 10 or 11, I think. And he's like, would you be mad if I told you that you missed? I was like, yes.
He was mad because he missed. Well, David, do you have like a vendetta against this person?
The person that was in the
in the helicopter. Like,
do you remember the part where I stopped in the fight to shoot the guy in the helicopter just on the off chance it was the same guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. That answer your question.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to establish that in fiction, like David has something against this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably like say to someone who's next to me, like whisper, maybe to the Helen. I'm just like, honestly, I feel like if we ever meet that guy again, he is a dead man. Like, nod over to David.
Yeah, yeah. So then, Jared, continue to tell us how this all went down.
Yeah, it was guns blazing everywhere. Helicopter. It was what day? It was just Dave. Was Ben there?
Yeah,
I think so.
It was David, I, and Ben against just scores of people, and then I ended up sacrificing myself so they could escape.
Yeah, I think they grabbed one of the girls and held them, held her at gunpoint, and then you traded your life.
They kidnapped 2 of them, I think. Wasn't it also Maddie?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Danny had Maddie and Hannah hostage, and I sacrificed myself in exchange for you all escape.
Yep. And then what happened after that?
Connor saved me.
Yeah. So I look at you and I'm like, okay, so this is one thing that I don't think I've ever gotten straight. What exactly happened there? I'm like looking at you, Connor, when I say this, and I'm like he went into a tunnel and I heard a scream and some gunshots and I was sure that he was dead and we had to get out of there. So we left. Were you in the tunnel? Like, why were you even there?
We were there because, well, I was making sure that
it was
you guys were safe.
A little bit after. No, it was a little bit afterward. He tortured me for some time, and then he saved me.
Oh, so you guys already left?
Yeah, this was like
that's true. Yeah,
unspecified amount of time later, I was like in our headquarters being tortured.
Yeah, but you still ask that question, like why were you there, Connor? And Connor says, I was keeping an eye on you guys. I wanted to make sure that you guys were safe. I've had people watching you specifically, Caleb, for almost the whole time I've been in Europe. Just making sure. Just keeping tabs.
And like I think maybe we cut to a very brief, like
argument,
very frenetic, like very intense argument, but like with the two of us just like I'm screaming at you, like, why did you leave?
Yeah.
You know, this intense moment. But we're back in Nebraska, and then it just cuts away, and we're just like looking at each other.
Yeah.
That was quite the moment.
It was, yeah.
It really was.
I cried. Me as
I
an
made
actual human being. Yeah,
I forced you guys to hug it out, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So I think, Caleb, do you want to create an aspect for your and Connor's relationships? This is kind of a Connor aspect, but this is kind of establishing something between you two. Like, what is there between you two? And maybe I'll have Connor roll something here.
Yeah.
Because there definitely was a lot there in that situation.
There was, yeah.
So I wanted to put that on a piece of paper too. And I guess it could be investigate for Connor that he like kept tabs on you for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably difficulty 3 because you were across the world and it was very difficult.
Yeah.
So you got a 5. So what do you? I don't want to just make it up since I'm trying not to play Connor as my character, but like, what do you think? Where do you think you two are at in this? Or I guess maybe explain just a little bit of like how that conversation ended for our audience.
Yeah.
Like, what does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I think we hear me say like, you don't understand what I went through. Everything would have been so much different if you had just been there. And then what does Connor say to that?
Well, you say that like...
that's that's in the flashback.
Oh, it's in the flashback. Okay. Yeah, I think he says, I had somebody else to take care of, and that was my wife. And I think Connor's aspect here is can't think of the chosen family over blood. Is that maybe there's a better way of phrasing that, but he I mean, it just says what it says, right? He chose his wife and he chose the crew over keeping you guys or staying with you guys, and like he chose his path. He went on his own.
Yeah.
And he chose a different family, and I think there's there's still a little bit of like maybe a hurt between especially you two, but maybe all of you guys as players of like Connor left and he kind of abandoned you guys, but he was doing something else. And so I think, but I think in Connor's eyes, like it's a sense of like, and that's why this is a positive for him, is like, this is a sense of like pride for him. Like this is a medal that he sacrificed everything he had in his old life to go and fight this war on the other side of the country and like help people over there and do stuff over there. And so he like sees that as like a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, their crew is called the Hidden Talon, just in case.
I think
I don't think I've ever said that, but okay, maybe I did.
Sounds familiar.
Okay, cool.
Same.
So Jared, though, is there anything that you want to recap? Because you had that moment in the sacrificing yourself and having Connor rescue you. Is there a moment or something like that while you were over in Europe that has had more of an effect on you than sacrificing yourself, maybe? Or do you want to try to create an advantage with like that scene there? Because I just trying to give you.
I feel
more
like
options.
That plays good off of my aspect of like bearing the weight of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because like everything that happened in Europe was mostly him just recovering and like screwing around having fun while you guys did all the work.
Right.
Kind of. Since I was
taming granola and
hanging out with my best friend.
Yeah.
And just like getting the bare minimum of what's going on, and like, hey, just point me in a direction. I'll kill what needs to be killed. So it could either be an aspect of like getting my best friend back, or either that, or like the sacrifice thing, whichever you think would work.
Well, no, it's definitely up to you. I mean, what do you think the role is? Like, you're creating an advantage here of like, what is Jared think about when he's thinking about these things? Like, as he's reflecting on this past, like, how does it affect him now? Because it's kind of like therapy, right? Like, you guys are all looking back on these old things, and you have a new perspective on it, and you have a different take of, if only I had done this, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have any ideas for? I don't even know what I'd roll for that, or what aspect to create. based off of that I don't already have?
I mean, it could be physique for you sacrificing yourself. You withstood the torture. And you were rescued and then recovered, that kind of a thing. So you could say something about yourself, like physically. I mean, you could just reveal something, right? I mean, you could say, like, you haven't been the same since you were tortured in that room, or it was all worth it, or something like that.
And
it might make
do
sense.
It again.
It might make sense to do rapport, because like obviously physical stuff would have been the role when he was being tortured, but now I think it's more like he's conveying to us that he went through that,
Yeah.
for us. I feel like that's like a positive emotional connection, which would be rapport, right?
Yeah. So you're kind of explaining to them like how much it meant. I would do it again. I would sacrifice myself again. Like I'd be the weight of what needs to be done. That kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds good. Except I'm going to do provoke.
No, you can say use provoke.
What's the difficulty?
I think the difficulty is 2.
Oh boy. I'm going to get like a -4. Oh, okay.
Oh, you got
There you go.
+2 roll. That's good. Okay. So
Nice.
what do you want to call this then, or what do you say, and then maybe you'll know how to call it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad things turned out the way they did. None of you died, and I got to meet my best friend again, just for a couple weeks of torture. That was kind of worth it.
Well, it wasn't not nearly a couple weeks of torture, because the nuke went off like the next day.
Well, I didn't. I don't think. Did they die? I don't think they. I don't remember.
I mean, they must have, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Connor killed them, but I don't think like we, with the timeline that short, and with everything that happened, I feel like they'd have to have taken me to a secondary location away from the nuke.
Yeah.
For an undisclosed amount of time, and then you see.
Yeah.
You killed them in the process, though, so there are no loose ends there that we know of, unless we want to retcon.
No, if I want to retcon it, I'll just retcon it later. No, just I'm just kidding. No, yeah, we can let them be dead. Connor just says, yeah, I killed them. Like it's done.
But
deal.
Can we trust Connor?
Dun dun dun. Yeah, and we get like a on Connor's face, and then it just goes back to normal. No, okay, so I think that Connor just says, and then we like heard about the it was Connor who found Matthew in Bloomington before you guys left.
Right.
Okay. So he had Matthew with him. So he says, so then, from Matthew, we heard about like the nukes that were still in the America, just America. And we decided that it was worth it to come over here and make sure that they were shut down in case Germany caught word of it, and they came and tried to use them against the free peoples to conquer the world.
The free peoples of Middle Earth.
We came back here, and now that's everything. I guess that's the full story. And I think we get like a pan of the room where like Liz and I think even Lynn has came back to the circle. And it's like, how like you formed a circle around the fire, and like she like sat like in the exterior, like she sat one row back, kind of a thing. Kept keeping to herself, but like they go around the room, and like all the NPCs you guys have picked up, like they're like, wow, that, like Helen's like, that's fascinating, and like you guys have done so much for each other and sacrificed so much, and it means so much to all of you. You guys are so close, even though you fight and have these problems. Like you guys go so far back, and I really admire just your guys' group. It's so inspiring. And like Clarence nods, and like Liz like gives you like a smirk, David. And she's like, "That's really cool," And like I think she gives you like an elbow, and she's like, "Man, you're cooler than I thought," or said something like that. And I think we pan around the room, and everybody's like really inspired by the story, and even Gabby as well. But then I think we go to you, Adam, and Adam, what do you say?
You're muted, friend.
Muted.
I was actually thinking I was asleep at this point. and he's just like, they're just like, wow, I just demo, and they're like looking at over him. He's just like sleeping. His glass is empty, and he's just passed out. That's what I was thinking.
So perfect. I'm so happy about that. I kept thinking, should I be having Adam like make commentary this whole time? And I was like, no, it'll just be perfect for this one liner at the end, and then he's just asleep. I'm so glad I muted myself. I would have laughed so hard over you. Oh, that's perfect.
I feel like we just end on that, right? We don't even go any further.
Yeah, no, for sure. We end on that. And well, I think we don't end on that. I think we just get a shot of like the storm passed and you guys didn't die. But I think you guys go out to the bus, and the bus is severely damaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys kind of look around, and like Robbie is like, has his like, probably his wrist was broken is what they figured out, and so his like arms in a cast that Emily put together. And you guys look at the bus, and like it's just like not necessarily like destroyed beyond repair, but it'll take a lot of work to get this thing up and running again if you guys can. And Josh cracks his knuckles. And I think we'll leave it there. Of like, you guys are in a rough spot now, and you guys have to see where you guys go from there.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's go off the air, and then let's take our little 15-minute after show and talk about the session.
Yeah, so don't leave yet, Adam. We usually do a little after show where we like talk about the session. So
Okay.
Cool. Thanks for watching. This has been Orphans.